1, 2, 3. Hello, hi, my name is Enrique Buckley. Today we're going to be doing analysis on To Hell and Back, a story, a memoir about, a biography about America's, the most decorated soldier in military history, essentially, Audie Murphy. Alright, first off, we're going to talk about Audie Murphy himself. We're going to give a summary. So, Audie Murphy was born June 20th, 1925 in Kingston, Texas. He trained in Camp Walters, Texas, and Fort George G. Meade, Maryland. And I know it doesn't say there, but he also trained. He did more training in North Africa when he was deployed, but the war was basically ending there. So his commanding officers and everybody was like, let's just put them into training. They're not gonna do anything. And so, because of that, he was assigned to the 15th Regiment and 3rd Infantry Division. I don't know how those classifications work, so if anyone can, please inform me on how they're properly stated and, that whole thing. So, okay, and basically during World War II, my bad, he fought in North Africa, Sicily, Italy, France, Germany. Basically, that's all he did, but the book basically focuses on Sicily, Italy, and France. And about Audie Murphy is that he earned the Medal of Honor, Silver Star, Bronze Star, Good Conduct Medal, and Purple Heart. He is the most decorated soldier with 26 medals to his name. And for a little fun information, he earned 3 different medals from France. I cannot pronounce the names, nor can I remember them, and 1 from Belgium. And to this day, he still holds the record for the most decorated soldier in history. After he was discharged in 1946, he became a Texas Ranger, believe it or not. I know it doesn't say there. But after he was also discharged from the Rangers, he became as it says there, an actor, singer, and writer. He became a hit. He had a great voice. He had great acting ability. He was great looking, and he produced over 44 movies. I think 44 movies, with one of them being a movie about his book Hell and Back, which I have yet to see, but I believe it's actually pretty good. Now, sadly, Murphy would die in a plane crash in Virginia, around 20 miles out from Richmond, I think, around May 28th, 1971, which is very sad. Now, the summary of To Hell and Back. Book starts off with Murphy in a war, or more specifically, in a battle. What battle it is, I don't know, nor can I fully remember because of the time crunch I'm on. So, after that battle, it starts off with Murphy and his huge family being abandoned by his father. Shocker. Horrible. I know. And then afterwards, around the age of 16, his mother dies. And because of his mother dying, he's like, oh, I want to go to war. I want to join the army. I want to join the military. And then, especially during his 16, Pearl Harbor was just bombed. And he was like, oh, he was filled with fire and rage. The whole shebang. And so he's like, yeah, I have to join. So he decides to join as soon as he hits 18. I believe he wanted to join younger, and his sister helped him out, but I think it didn't work out. Or I don't fully remember. I need to do my research again on it. And so he's like, oh, hey, I'm going to go run to the nearest Marine recruiting center I could. And the Marines, at this time, they were not very nice about it. They were like, you see these giant, bulking Marines, and, Audie's a scrawny little kid at his age. Even for his age, he's a scrawny little kid, and these Marines are huge leatherbacks, or as he calls them leatherbacks in the book. And the Marine's like, nah, kid, you're not going to join. So, discouraged, he's like, I'll go paratrooping. Paratrooping is nice about it, and they're like, hey, kid, just eat a few bananas and a protein shake, and then come back later. But it still, puts Audie down. But then he decides, let's try infantry. 3rd time's a charm, am I right? And, lucky enough, infantry accepts him. And so, after basic training, he gets sent to Tunisia. He gets sent to Sicily afterwards. And throughout the whole book, he's bonding with his friends, his buddies. There's a lot of comedy involved. They're just having a good old time. And there's a lot of heartwarming moments where they're just enjoying each other's presence, with the book also having its fair share amount of, with its main focus being on the fights, the battles, the pain, the sorrow, the death that follows Audie. And then towards the end of the book, he hears rumors about Germany being like absolutely done, it's dying. And that's basically the end of the book that we get of it. So yeah, there's that. Now, the thing is, why did I pick this reading? I always found World War II very interesting, and it's been a thing that's been like clutched to my heart since I was young. I've been a weird kid, I'll admit it, and I've always been fascinated by how inhumane America and Germany were to each other during the war, with mustard gas, trench guns, the whole shebang. Blood, fire, death, destruction, the whole thing. I was so intrigued by it. I have no idea. So it was just a really normal thing for me. And then later on in life, I was introduced to war movies. One of them, and to this day, my favorite war movie is Hacksaw Ridge, which is the movie about combat medic Desmond Doss and his bravery during Battle of Okinawa. And I always found the movie interesting, so it just, with that movie and several movies like Band of Brothers and the whole shebang, I was like, hey, light bulb, these movies are cool, the books I'm reading are cool. So it's just World War II just clicked for me. It's just it's a subject I like reading about, researching, especially how brutal it is. And so when I saw it as an option, I was like, hey, World War II, I'm down. And now preemptive information, like information I like searched up before this, and the only thing I wanted to search up was just when did the book take place. That's all I wanted to know. And so from what I found out was that the book takes place July 1943, and the ending of the book is around March 1945. And for reference, as it says there, World War II started in September and ended September. Gee willikers. But it started in 1939 and ended in 1945, being about over almost 14 years? Almost 15 years, yeah. Almost 15 years of just battle, I think. Yeah, no. Yeah, almost 10 years. Ooh, I'm bad at math. Now, okay, thoughts before reading this. What was I to expect about reading this book? And what I thought about it was that, it's basically a biography of Audie Murphy. We're going to talk about his service time in war, and like what's going to happen to him, and what like his heroic deeds during the battle, like within his involvements in Italy, France, Belgium, and Nazi Germany. The whole thing. Like, I was like, oh, okay. Sorry, Dust. I was going to figure out what was going to happen. And so then I read it a couple weeks later, and I was like, what did I think? And I wrote this saying, hey, what did I think about it? And what I thought about it was, it's a fun but sad story, actually. The whole story is about bonding, creating a new family, going to war, but your family's taken away from you. Well, like, some of your family's taken away from you. And even directly after those moments of family being taken away, Audie's giving his chance for revenge and justice. And we'll learn about those later. But the story in itself is just a story of hardship and survival. And throughout the whole time, he's having fun with his friends and buddies. With each day, all of them are thinking, this could be my last day on Earth. This is my last day I could live. All these guys have families and everything. These are the last days I could see them. And basically, it's just an amazing book. It's great. It has emotion. It's just a really good book. It's a good war memoir, and I highly recommend it to anyone who sees it. And I recommend the movie, but I haven't seen the movie. Now, I got this question. I got all these questions, but this one also was curious to me. The intended audience. Who is this for? Who is this book specifically for? And from what I wrote here was I wrote for the masses, the former vets, the families, and if anything, possibly for Audie himself. Now, the purpose is why? Why would he do that? Now, for the masses, that's a simple thing. To show what's happening to those across the seas, what's happening in war, like, how messed up is it at this time? Why are these men coming back broken, battered, bruised, like, missing limbs, sights, everything? Like, they're missing everything, missing their whole identity because of war, and it shows them this. And as bad as it could be for war vets, it could be a way to relive memories. And sometimes, albeit bad some memories are really traumatic and they're really hardcore to live through, but it also reminds them of how human they could be, and like, hey, I went through this. And it could be a sense of joy, like relief, and like, oh, I still remember who I am, and I remember what my life was like, and like how I got here, and why I'm still alive. You know, it's one of those feelings. And let me go back for a second. Families, okay. I didn't write for families, but could give those people like, oh, this is what happened. Like, it could, for families, it could show those families who are like, oh, I lost a dear one, or my dear one came back, and show them like, hey, if you lost a dear one, this is why you lost. Like, this is what I feel. I'm so sorry, but your family. This is what happened. It was messed up as hell. But for those members that came back, it could be one of those like, oh, my spouse survived this. That's insane that they came back. Albeit they're still probably broken mentally, but they came back alive to my child and myself, you know, that whole thing. And it's a messed up thing about like taking one's life and everything. And at the end it shows like, oh, there's a willing that I didn't quote it here, and I'm very sorry, but Audie writes about how people are very willing to throw themselves at death's door while forgetting life that's bestowed upon each and every one of us. Like, people are very eager to jump into war, because during those times, during World War I, World War II, the Civil War even, people were very eager to just go into war, fight for the beauty of our country, fight for patriotism and the whole thing, without realizing how messed up it could be. Take example, one of the current movies that just came out last year, All Quiet on the Western Front. It's a German movie that shows the German side of World War One, and it's a great example I bring up because during the beginning, all of the guys want to go to war. It's like, oh, we're gonna make money. We're gonna be these, pardon my language, we're gonna be these badasses that come out and fight, and we're gonna be these awesome guys. We're gonna come back fine, and we love our country. They go into war. Most of them are crying, throwing up. They're shell-shocked. They're broken just from nothing. They kill their first man and they want to die. Like, it's a messed up thing that people are willing to throw themselves at because they don't know. And this book tells them, like, hey, this is what really happens during war. This is the horror of war. Sorry. Now, the thesis of the memoir. What was it, the main topic of this? And I thought, well, it's probably about Audie Murphy's strength and character. I say this because it's going to be in the next slide, and I'm going to say it right now just because I'm kind of lazy. That the story is about a scrawny short kid that went through war. Like, his strength and character and his determination. I didn't write it here, but determination. He's a scrawny short kid. I said it in the beginning. Like, I said in the beginning, my bad. Like, he's a scrawny short kid. He had to go through humiliation after humiliation just to make it to the war. And even then, his commanding officer was like, nah, kid, we'll throw you in as a chef. So you won't have to be in the front lines. Just so you won't get hurt. Like, that's absolutely soul-crushing for someone to say, yeah, nah, let's not put you there. You joined this, but now we're not going to put you there. Like, it's absolutely humiliating. And even then, he went to war. He actually fought on the front lines. He went through so much death. His friends dying. He killed people. And yet, he still came back. And at the end of the book, I'll show you later. I'll show you in the next slide. But he literally, he decided, hey, I'm going to come back. I'm going to find the girl of my dreams. And I'm going to make it however I can. And in supporting arguments as to why, I told you, like, he's constantly cutting down. He killed a lot during Cold War pockets and before and after that event. And on that last line, I showed you the quote. I may be branded by war, but I will not be defeated by it. Page 273. That just shows his determination to be like, hey, I've gone through all this. I'm probably going to be messed up, but I'm going to do my best to get out of here and make it and try to be successful. And funny enough, he actually becomes successful. And for many war vets, that doesn't happen. From now on, from the past to now, war vets are rarely successful in becoming happy, successful. Yeah, Audie had his issues. He really did. He would have mood swings. He was paranoid. Yes, but like he made it. He actually made it, and he tried his best, and we'll give him that determination in his character that it's crazy that he actually made it. And now moving on to major topics. What were the major topics of the book? Well, obviously it's a war book, so we're going to talk about death, a lot of pain, sorrow, and the horrors of war, but with other major topics, we could be on the light side and be it's about male bonding, it's about justice, it's about family. And that's the beauty of some war books, and that's also a good thing that Audie's book talks about, is that it doesn't shy away. It doesn't just focus on death, fighting. I lost my friends. No, it talks about like, hey, I'm building a relationship with these guys, and if they die, I can give them revenge and give them justice for what actually happened to them, and that's a beautiful thing to see. Now the thing is, I got this from my professor, and it says, how does he treat these events? Like, how does he like reflect on these? And I don't know. I really don't know. I can't go back and ask him, hey, how do you feel about writing these? So I just thought about it. Like, I put myself in his shoes, and like, if it were me, I treat them just as memories. And you can tell that there's pain whenever he writes these words, and it's very cold and sorrowful, and how he describes these, but he still wants to cement his memories in stone to show people like what really happened and what really is going on during war, what happens to people, and it's crazy. Now my professor also has compared this to class readings, and compare this to the stuff we read in class and the readings. Now the readings, they're good readings. I love the readings. The thing is that they're very general and they're very broad, and they focus on the bigger events, the more important popular events, and even then they skip over them really quickly. Now with comparing to Audie's book, it's first person accurate. There's a lot of minute details. There's a lot of emotion. It's descriptive of how these people, like, one of his friends, I forget his name, but he was like, oh, he always had a love for coffee and cigarettes. Whenever you saw him, he always had extra rations stuffed in his pocket. That's details we don't get in any general reading that we get in class. That's something that's personal to a personal experience, which is why I find this book crazy great. Now, I wanted to talk about one of his several heroic events that happened during his time. And it's not the Calmer Pocket, but it's very similar, because as you see now, as I'll explain right now, is that, you know, he was ordered, he retreated into the woods. He's retreating. There's Germans coming after him and his friends, and he's alone because, well, I'm gonna be honest, his friend dies. His friend is shot and dead, and he's like very upset and he's broken by it. So he decides to throw a grenade, and during that grenade, he sees before he throws a grenade, he sees a mounted machine gun on a destroyed tank, a destroyed M1. He sees it and he decides to throw a grenade, discombobulate and hurt whoever he can, and decides to rush for the gun. And then you see in the quote there, I picked up their gun with thought to be checked for damage. It's in perfect condition, holding it like a bar. A bar is a machine gun. From the hip, I started up the hill. Page 177. And then he proceeds to write, I remember the experience as I do in Nightmare. A demon seems to have entered my body. My brain is coldly alert and logical. I do not think of danger to myself. My whole being is concentrated on killing. Like, that word right there is just hate. Like, it ties to that whole thing about emotion. That, like, a lot of war books, they talk about emotion, but they don't talk about emotion as much as Audie does. Like, hey, I went through this. My body decided, hey, we're going to take over for you. You're not going to think about anything except just don't care about yourself. We're going to do the killing for you. And it's just painful. And then we move on to Colmar Pocket, which is the thing that Audie's most known for, because, well, first off, this is a counterattack. Like, the Germans are counterattacking the Americans and the Allies. And Audie's left to fend for himself. And then he's like, oh, hey, everybody run to back to camp or base. I don't remember. I'll stay here and direct artillery. And funny enough, there's another tank. There's another tank that's destroyed with the gun intact. And he's like, hey, I'm going to shoot these guys every now and again, and I'm going to run to the gun. And then he climbs on it and takes charge. And then his commanding officer's like, hey, how close are they to you? And as it says there, his famous response, just hold the phone and I'll let you talk to the bastards. It shows how close he was, and he decided to fend off that thing, and that's one of the reasons why he got the Medal of Honor today. But that's the end of my slide. I know it's 16 slides, and I'm very sorry, but it's a very time crunch. But I still, hopefully, I went over everything I could. I gave us my reasons why, and here's a citation because I actually only used the book and sadly Wikipedia, but I mainly used the book for all my information. So the book for the Internet Archive is right there, and I'm thankful for this, and I'm actually really thankful. I hope this is, I don't know why I'm saying thankful, but I hope this is good enough, and I wish you all a very good night.